Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dreamklub and welcome back to Dreamtalks. Today I have a very good friend and a special guest, you can say, sort of.
Oh, I'm your special guest.
Oh, absolutely. Today we have Axette, or Axe.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Welcome to
Pleasure
the
to be on
podcast.
the show here, Dreamklub. Thank you. I've been a fan for years, and avid silent listener for some time.
Well, I like to hear that you consider yourself a fan. I've been a fan of you, though. It's for people who don't remember you and me being around in videos and stuff like that, if they find this podcast and want to know a little bit more. So we have been friends for a few years now.
It's scarily the years go by. So yes, it has been.
Yeah.
Years, in fact.
And this, I mean, the first contact, if I remember correctly, was me being a comment on your computer when you made YouTube videos.
Yeah, I believe it was about the time Ryan, or Mr. 360 Games, or Double, however people want to call him, he had crazily agreed to do a video with me early on, and there was kind of a few waves of new people coming into my channel and my videos, and at that time I got to meet a lot of the people who were kind of regular in that community, and I remember being like, oh, this Dreamklub guy seems very in the know about many things, and turns out that you had been fairly involved in not just those communities, but many communities, kind of unbeknownst to everyone.
Yeah, I guess my approach to YouTube was that Ryan 360 Games, in this case, he was the first guy I subscribed to ever on YouTube. I mean, I didn't have a YouTube account the first time I watched his videos. That's pretty weird to be.
Same. He had a machinima video or something. So it's crazy how you find everybody. When you think back to it.
Yeah. No, it's been. That was weird. And then he made a video with you, and I was like, okay, cool. Ryan thinks this guy is something, so I should look him up.
That was his first mistake.
I actually would disagree. There were a period where I watched you more than him, I would say. So
thank you.
It's always been. I mean, I'm going to be open-hearted about this. It's still pretty amazing to me to hang out with you and Ryan as well, and stuff like that, because you are sort of, in my view, I am a fan of you guys. At the same time, you are my friends. So that's a weird feeling.
Yeah, it's nice that a lot of our group has kind of transitioned beyond, because you almost get this nostalgicness and something that kind of brings us all back to that same spot where we all were a part of the same zone, but kind of allows other things to develop because of it. I don't know. It's like we've all shared this common creative part of our lives, and because of that, I mean, it's almost like the group of the guys who are all in the same, they go into a pub or something. I mean, it's just this nice universal anchor that kind of brings us all back to the same group.
Yeah,
It's been a luxury of kind of that archival light. Looking back on everything.
I would totally agree with that, and I transitioned into this new world of editing videos and recording stuff. I've always had an interest in it, so to speak, but now I'm educated in it. I have a company dealing with it. I do things like this for a living, trying at least, and that is totally, basically, I would say I have to blame Ryan for this. Why am I doing this? What I'm doing with my life? It's his fault. I mean, no, but it's strange. YouTube have had a major impact on my life, and you are one of those people. So, going back to you, you had a series that basically, was around the idea of trying to help people with coming to terms with different things in life and half philosophically talking about things.
way back. Yeah, I'm assuming. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm
Yeah,
guessing you're talking about the Team Fortress Friday series I used to do way back.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of spawned from this idea that, well, I like Team Fortress 2 a lot. Back in the day, that was like the game I played a ton, so it kind of became the initial platform of the gaming channel. But I kind of enjoyed that a lot of older. So I mean, if you're doing YouTube nowadays, the scene's very different and like the culture is very different. But like original like YouTube gaming when it first came out, it became very personal. It either split. You either went personal and kind of had more of your own thing, or you were very much so like this non-emotional, almost business perspective, and like that usually resulted in like top 10 plays, best ofs, blah blah blah, tips and tricks videos. But the majority of YouTubers had more of a cultural like, this is my life and this is what it is. And so that kind of became the outlet for that, where I would play this game and just every Friday I figured like a casual thing of like, I had a lot I felt I wanted to say, and I didn't really have anywhere to put it. So that kind of resulted in me making these videos that I would just kind of talk over a TF2 clip and be like, hey, this is about such and such. And it was more of a discussion than it was obviously a lecture. It was just more of like kind of this thing of like, this is where it affects our lives. This is where it comes in. I've noticed this in mine. I've seen this. I've heard from others this. And isn't that interesting? And that kind of developed into really, and I like doing it because it was not a headline series. It was not a headline thing. But it was something I felt was kind of shading or meat, or some background into everything. There was actually substance behind the nonsense. It kind of counteracted, I felt, between the two.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I have to totally agree with it, and like the YouTube gaming, especially, have always been an interesting scene, because gaming is always like, it has this negative side, and like people that's not into it think it's just, oh yeah, they're just caring about games, they don't do anything else. And the thing is, it's community, it's hanging out with people, it's talking about life.
exactly.
So like it's a way to hang out with people. That's what gaming is all about normally.
What initially
Uh,
gravitated me towards YouTube was that I felt I wanted that life, not necessarily their life, but you know what I mean. Like, people were very personal and open, and that gravitated me into the community more than any impressive gameplay, any tips or tricks, anything like that. It felt like a scene you wanted to be a part of, and you almost, like, for yourself, I'm sure too, it was a situation where you wanted to be a part of it, and that's what drew you in initially, not any sort of inclination of fame or any sort of inclination of recognition or of being this thing. It was just like this innate wanting to be in this scene, at least for me, that kind of pulled the
yeah,
trigger on
I
that.
totally understand what you're talking about, and that's probably why I was hanging out in several different people's like their video feed and left comments, and why my name sort of stuck on certain people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because basically the idea behind it was, I enjoy these people. I sort of enjoy their made up, this fictional company I have of having them around and listening to them talk. And I mean, this have created this strange group of friends that we are, like worldwide friendship, and it's amazing on many different parts. So, yeah, it's been really great in many ways what happened out of that, and I just wanted to sort of, you don't have to go very deep into it, but you were very hearted about different stuff in your life in this series, and it was not just the good stuff in life. You often dare to talk about a little more difficult side of life, the darker side, the issues in life, so to speak. And
Mm-hmm.
I always appreciated your take on stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think at the time too, I had been coming out of some things, but I think those are the things that we all deal with, but aren't socially inclined to talk about. If somebody, we talked about before, but something, hey, how's your day going? Good is kind of answer you're supposed to give, and the nature of the question is different than actually, how are you emotionally doing right now. It's more of an acknowledgement of your existence. But I just, I guess those are the ones that mean the most. Those are the people that connect the most. And life is not pop songs. Life is not only positive things. I think the largest part of life is that there is pain and issues that we have to deal with. And I think that a lot of carefreeness comes from not having to be confronted by that mirror. And I guess to me, the people who want to hear that, the people who need that the most are the people who are having to deal with it, because there's almost this culture that you're alone in that feeling, and the feeling already isolates you in itself, but then you feel like it's not something that most people necessarily relate to or gravitate towards. And that was a way of just saying that we all feel these things. We aren't alone. If the feeling already is going to isolate you, don't think that society will as well, because everybody who is anybody has had to deal with this stuff. Anybody who's legitimately had to take on life has felt pain as well as love, and has felt loss as well as hope. And it's just, it just was something I enjoyed to do, because in a way it was therapeutic for myself as well. Over those years previous to kind of that series, you learn a lot, and you just kind of almost put it out there as in a sense of like, if anybody else feels this way, then I've accomplished what I set out to do. And that kind of is what brought that into the light. I think it's just this, I think too, if you've been in a painful situation, you immediately kind of want to assist others in it. You understand what it's like, and so you go back in for your men, you go back in for the people you care about, and it's almost like you're all brother. I talked about, there's that anchor thing that kind of brings us into that group of ex-YouTubers. There's pain kind of anchors people to one another, and you look back and you go, oh man, you've dealt with this, and you can immediately make a connection with that person over somebody who almost has a shining plate of armor, and maybe not to their faults, but just life hasn't exactly done that. You can immediately resonate with somebody who has gone through those things. So that is a way of almost creating an open discussion for it.
Yeah, I had a feeling that your TF2 Friday, and on many occasions, it became the outlet that dared to talk about the hard stuffs in life, long before many other YouTubers dared to even venture towards that side of YouTubing. And I think, if I remember correctly, there were a lot of people that were really grateful to you for this. Like, there were many comments there was a lot of comments about how you talking openly about them was helping others. How do you feel about that?
There was a real niche community that I think gravitated towards it, and I always took the topics from past. I would say, "What do you want me to talk about?" And there'd be people who would offer their suggestions of a topic, and I kind of would go off of community input on that. So I think that helped, because the community then was suddenly invested in that idea from the get-go. It was this idea that I didn't just come up and say, hey, today I'm going to talk about puppies and why they're adorable. I did do one that was ridiculous, because I think it was something about like dinosaur chicken nuggets or something. I don't know. It was because somebody asked me to do something stupid, and I did. But no, most of the time I think it was for other people more than it was myself. And I think that's why I kept the series going, even though it wasn't necessarily a popular series. It meant something to the people there and myself. And I always figured that was kind of the whole purpose of it from the beginning. And, I think that led it to when it was shut down. It was because I really had nothing more to say, and I wasn't going to start making things to say. It wasn't organically there. And I think that, people kind of took that well and had a lot to look back on. And, that kind of transcended into other parts of, my life that weren't that outlet anymore. So.
Yeah.
And
then you had a pretty good run for a gaming channel. Like, you never blew up to the huge proportion of certain groups, but I would say that you had a good period there where you we did a lot on YouTube.
Absolutely.
And,
I think yeah. I think it hit a point where when I was considering leaving, I took a moment to kind of look at it all, and I just remember thinking to myself, man, this could really be something, but it's not what I need it to be. You know, it really, I think, and a lot of people have said it, you know, you kind of break that barrier and you really could make it past that point. And it was growing at an unbelievable rate. And I was very grateful for the fans, but I think it kind of went against the mission I started out with YouTube, which was, you know, if it meant something to me and it meant something to others, to continue to do it. And it meant a lot to others, but it really started to not mean anything to me, and I felt that almost in turn hurt the people who were following me, because if I wasn't invested in the videos or the content or anything like that, what was the point of doing a lot of that? And it just, I don't know, I was very burned out on the whole subject overall. So it was great, and I really felt guilty, and I kind of thought that maybe it was just going to need a hiatus, that it was going to kind of come back into life. But sometimes things, I always said too, there were two things. It was that, you know, one was that I always wanted to make sure, you know, people cared and I cared for it to work. And on top of that, I'd rather have everybody wanting more than saying that should have ended 2 seasons ago, you know? So I just kind of ended it where I felt was a good point, where I was starting to become less frequent with everything, and I was starting to let the things slip, and it was time, you know, in that moment to let it go, for it to remain a quality thing for people to look back on and say, wow, that really was, you know, maybe genuine in that time. So
no, I think we both agree on a principle that I have figured out is not that common that I actually thought, but sometimes we just want a good thing to end. Mm-hmm. Like, things always come to an end. That's a natural part of everything. Mm-hmm. And like, when things just go on and go on and go on, you lose the thing that made it good in the beginning, mm-hmm. right? So when you sort of quitted YouTube, there were more aspects of it, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But it really felt like the original Axette Gaming channel thingy started to slip, and if you were going to continue pushing it out, it would have been more like everybody else, just to survive.
Yeah, it was, you know, I went through a different few forms of posting videos and how I did them. You know, way in the past they used to be more personal, and then near the end they were, I'd stopped doing that Team Fortress Friday. I stopped doing kind of discussion channels, and I was doing more like clip-based videos, which I actually really enjoyed. I thought that was a good quality platform, you know, to work off of a set amount of time, and it's highlights, and it's funny, and you still got to know people. And then I figured streaming would kind of fill in that gap of, personality. But it just, I don't know, I was putting less and less quality into the editing of those videos, and it bugged me, because now when I've looked back, I've looked at a couple of those videos and I've gone, oh, I could have added this, I could have added that, I could have, and not saying that they are bad, but just you look back and you go, man, I remember that day. I remember being just burned out, having to go through a bunch of videos. I was trying to put out one a day, and I think that's where the main process lost. And I couldn't at that time not put out one a day. I had to put out at least one a day to kind of keep that, because I was actually living off of it for a while, which was great. And I think that's where it immediately hit. Really, the optimal world would have been putting out every 4 days a just good quality clip video. That was awesome. But I just, given the structure I based my life on at the time, it just wouldn't work. And I was ready to kind of become I don't know, civilian again. I was ready to become just a guy who played games again, and not feeling like I was bound to having to, make that happen. You couldn't really play games for fun, because if you were playing on your own and you had something good happen, you were like, that could have been a video. And it's like, oh, that's such a, you can't just enjoy it. So, no, I mean, it's...
No, I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it was time.
I mean, I was never that big as you, but I had a period where I had continued growth going, and you had to figure out to make how to make the next video, and you wanted to get certain people's attention so you could like play with them, and then you wanted to do something more. And like, in my opinion, YouTube have just continuously, and I'm talking about the platform and how it technically forces editing of videos today and the tempo of releasing videos today. It just feels like it's been going downhill for a long time now.
Yeah,
and that's my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, it definitely I mean, I haven't really kept on the up and up of a lot of popular content, but apparently diss tracks are really... Man, that is the oldest thing I'm probably going to say today to date myself. All right, the kids these days are doing something called diss tracks to one another, and that's... I think they say some hurtful words to each other in order to become more famous with the kids these days. But, you know, it's just... I don't know, the culture just seems watered down. I'm over... The other side that I won't talk about too much, just because it could be a crazy long discussion, but the other side is that it sucks working up against a hill when the own people who are supposed to be on your team don't have your back, and when your own platform that you're posting to pretty much seems to make a regular basis of making your life a living hell. It just, you know, it was like, that was the other scariest part, was like, if I invest more in this...
No, I agree. I really agree with what you're saying.
My entire life and income could be ended in a day from some person in some place I'm never going to meet because they just are so out of touch with everything. And I just was like, that's terrifying. I'm out with just... I was out with the emotion. I was out with YouTube's regular bullshit. Sorry, you can bleep that. Regular everything.
This is... You can say bullshit, you can say fuck,
I can say fuck.
Say complete everything, because this channel is totally fine.
Gosh darn by golly, this changes
I'm probably going to maybe bleep out the, you know, I'm probably going to bleep that.
Oh, so I can't say
but I'm Swede. I don't care. You can say it. It's totally fine.
But
I mean, when I'm saying fuck and I'm bleeping it, it's basically going to make it worse. Like, I'm building up the word to be a lot worse.
You've censored it so it has more meaning.
If I say fuck,
only I
I just say fuck and fuck and fuck, but I bleeped all of those. People are going to take it completely the wrong way, since we were just talking about chocolate.
Exactly. No, it's quite all right. But yeah, it felt like they never had your back. It felt like every update, every something. Right now, apparently, there's a whole... Again, I've kind of stayed away from a lot of the news, but I'm still in the sphere of people, so I hear about it a lot. But apparently there's this whole new copyright thing, and like your videos have to be, you know, processed to make sure. And it's like, that's what a multi-channel network was there for before. That was the whole point.
Yeah, I agree. The channel networks are completely meaningless today because they can't do shit.
They just want
like
people.
If YouTube removes the ad revenue of a video, that just happens.
No, exactly. Yeah. And that sounds so innocent, and it's not. It's like, hi, I've invested hours of my life into making this happen so that I can feed myself, and it's taken down because a robot from people who don't really care about what I do, even though it allows them to hold their job, just kind of took it down. So
yeah, it was really funny actually. I can't talk too much about it because it's super secretive. It's always super secretive. But I have a friend who have been working closely with some of the people that are running, YouTube, and he just confirms what I already knew because I'm not stupid. But
they don't care.
YouTube is trying to solve. YouTube. They're people. They know how to program things, and they will solve everything with an algorithm or programming an AI to fix a problem that you could just fix by talking to someone. They lack the social skill of running this massive, like, semi-company that they have. Like, when we're making videos to survive, when people are be doing it professionally to You know, you make money enough that you can put your life and soul into making these videos. At some level, you sort of work for YouTube because that's what they live off of. The community thing.
One allows the other to exist.
But what they need is like a bunch of people working on the social side of YouTube and talking to the content creators and have like a communication and give and take and, you know, build up like a communication with the people that are adding things to their platform. But they don't. They are adding more and more technological solutions because that's what they do. And they are killing themselves over it because it doesn't work that way. You can't fix people's problem by telling a computer to go solve it. A computer doesn't understand at all what we're doing.
Exactly. There is a human side to YouTube just as there should be on the administrative side. I agree.
Yeah. And I feel really bad about the community of YouTube because I feel like it's going downhill, as I said, just because people like you are leaving because there's no safety in it. And there are people like you that I really looked up to on YouTube, like that brought their personality and talked about real things in life. And, you know, you made the world a better place that way, in some sense. You opened up things that people thought that they were alone, as you were saying. And I think you did a great job. So I just want to thank you for that.
That's very nice of you. Beyond what I deserve, I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, no, I think you did a good thing, and I think you meant a lot for a lot of the people that listened to it. There were thousands of people that hang out and talked about life with you, and I think you did a good thing.
It was very humbling. I give it that. It was the most humbling, I think, thing I've had in my life. So I appreciate everybody who cared enough and came out and has continued to be, you know, wonderful people because of it, and just in general. It's great having that, you know, to say about your community. And
with that said, let's move to a completely different topic. Let's talk about World War II.
Ah, yes, World War II. The second.
Yeah, and Activision. Can we bring that to the
that
game?
World War II. Yeah, I have not played it for good reason. But what did you want to discuss on it?
I have not played it as well. I want to put this out. This is an opinion from two guys that have been watching this from the sidelines. If you have played the game, if you have personal experience, feel free to leave a comment down and tell me about your opinions and how you feel about it. I'm totally open to that. This is not a diss track because I don't do those. And I should.
You should. Apparently that'll get you in the #1 trending spot. Just insult people in musical rap, and then you're just some kid who would never throw down in real life.
Like the Twitter war we did, engaged in.
Oh, the Twitter war of 17, I remember.
Yeah. No, but we have a new COD game out, another new COD game.
It's every year.
Every time they pop up, there's discussion, but it sort of feels like it's been a while. Mostly because the last one was so bad that it became just a joke.
I mean, there's the jokes about the cycle of Call of Duty where it's like everybody's into it, and then, you know, it's just you're waiting for the next game, you know, to just like oversimplify it, and like that one just felt like it just breezed over, kind of like Ghosts. Like I don't even remember Ghosts. People talking about it, it just kind of like it was there and it was gone. Like,
it took me like a second, like Ghost. Oh yeah, Call of Duty Ghost. That was.
I forgot the game existed until I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, I said like I stopped playing it at about Black Ops 2, and this is somebody who played all of them. He's like, yeah, you kind of left at the best time, and I was like, oh. What came after that? And I was like, Ghost? I was like, oh yeah, I remember that was that moment when I saw the Ghost trailer. I was like, no, it's over. It's over. It's watered down. It's garbage. It's, you know, you're paying Call of Duty alone. You're paying for the culture of Call of Duty. You're not paying for the game of Call of Duty. You're playing to be a part of this experience with all these people, and it's the same group of people, and it is kind of a very dog eat dog community. You know, it's like I'm better than you. I beat you in this game. I got a kill streak, and that's a lot of fun. But it just like now they have like cowboy hats and afros and clown noses, and they fly, and there's bees, and It's like, this isn't even a game anymore. This is just like, you guys are like, how ridiculous can we make this before somebody calls us out on our problems? And I don't know. But that's why they made World War II. They scaled it back to what originally kind of brought people's interest into the game, because it almost went so obscure that it...
Yeah, and let's just, for one thing, I just feel like I need to mention, like, it's pretty hilarious from a business perspective to see what is the biggest, like, shooting game right now. Oh, it's Battlefield. Battlefield
That's so
1,
weird to say.
and it's World War One. They when COD was flying out in space and going super loony, they brought their game to the bloodiest conflict like ever, and be like, no, we're going to take this to the situation when armies were really just engaging in the biggest battles ever, and weapons were actually pretty shit, but you know, it was all down to who mastered using them. And everybody was like, yeah, and there's airships. Yeah, cool.
No, exactly. I completely agree.
And immediately after this, COD is like, we're doing World War II.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's almost... I've always had a thing with sci-fi games. Like, Halo nailed it. You know, Gears of War, I think, was a little... You know, they did a good job. But, like, to make a series like Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare blew that up. And that was because it was relevant. It was in the same period. You know what I mean? It was just this type of game that nobody had ever really had. And then Modern Warfare 2, same thing. I mean, a little more Activision, Call of Duty started to form, you know, like noob tubes and all that kind of culture started setting in. And then, like, it just, they started to go so far ahead, but they had to still kind of tie it to what it was, that it almost, like, the culture of the game had shifted, so they almost tried to appeal to that crowd. But then, like, the world was kind of like, this is just kind of a little far. You're branching out from the original idea of what the game was supposed to be, which was this just quality, you know, shooter that really hadn't been done in that sort of arcade style, or at least hadn't hit all the right the same notes and stuff. You know, Battlefield did a great job with Battlefield 1. That's kind of that feeling that I think people go after, is that Call of Honor and this, and it's a stupid video game that should never incorporate that. I love the game, but you know, it's just it's just not incorporated, but like, that shouldn't be an emotion you feel, but it is. That was supposed to be the whole thing. It's like, it's this, you're understanding that culture a little more, and it became just like space alien, not even alien, but just space thing with stupid things.
At this point, I wouldn't have been at all surprised if COD would have introduced aliens.
That's my point. It just became like, we have to appeal to this insanity, and yet at the same time, we're not what we used to be, and I think we want it to be this. And I was like, what is going on here? I'm not going to pay $70 to play this game. So...
Yeah, no, I have that feeling about Activision, and it's a feeling of unartistic mega studios. Like, there are mega studios, for instance, in movies, like Disney. But Disney learned their lesson during the end of the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s, where they pumped out a lot of shitty films that nobody liked, and they were really on the brink. And then some of their best people that was like, you guys suck, we're going to branch off and do our own thing, founded a new studio and started pumping out their own films, and everybody loved them. And Disney ended up buying them back. Yeah. So, of course, I'm talking about what's it called? DreamWorks.
Oh, I did not know that.
I was about Dream Studios. No, DreamWorks. Yeah, DreamWorks was founded by people that just felt like Disney. People that had worked at Disney were like, no, this is not what we want to do. We can do something good with this animations and stuff like that, but you're not doing the right things. And
absolutely,
that
I feel like Call of Duty, that's a fair thing to say, because it's like Call of Duty 4 Call of Duty 2, I know there are people who loved that, but like Call of Duty 4 was the social kickoff, and every game since chased the feeling of the previous game. So it's like when you enter the Call of Duty sphere, like, so first off, it was this big M game, right? And if you were in high school at the time, it was like, ooh, like, I'm playing this mature game. And you have all these younger people who see that and they transition. So let's say you play the game. It's awesome. By the time you come in at Black Ops 2, let's say you started there, you know it's not the same, but then every game after, you're realizing that that was kind of the better one. And it's like you're just kind of slowly going down, you know, this peak from an original hit. And then the people who made that game were like, well, we're starting our own company, Respawn, and they made Titanfall. And Titanfall, you know, was not a Call of Duty blow up, but it sustained itself to enough of a community where now Titanfall 2's out, and like it's a successful known game. And that, like you said, you know, it's interesting to see kind of how that goes. It's like, oh, we hit gold, let's drain it, and then we'll be upset when the people who are good at finding it start another. You know, it's like you didn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
You're just coloring rocks.
Yeah, but the thing with gold, it's like, you know, I think we can continue the analogy here with mining, and that is gold mines are never something that's just stuck on one place, because gold moves in veins. You need to continue to follow a vein, but you can't stand still and mine the same dirt at the same place forever. And that's what Activision have been doing. They have been stuck trying to remine the same spot that they found gold once, instead of trying to just find where the vein went and follow it. That's the big thing. And that's what I sort of feel like they might be trying to get out of with this game, even if, as far as I understand of people that are actually playing this actively, they are not saying it's bad.
No, I've heard
they are not blown away.
Positive things for the Call of Duty thing, that this one is actually doing quite well, and I think that's great, you know.
Yeah, and another very important thing is that, as far as I understand, this is actually carrying a single-player story that's pretty heavy and has, like, approaching World War II with a lot of respect. And they have said that they really wanted to tell their story correctly, since it's such an important part of history, and a lot of the people that were there, we are losing them now.
We are.
They are that old. So they wanted to pay respect to that generation and everything that the world sort of owes them.
Yeah, it was an incredible, you know, thing to be. I don't know, just more and more comes out every day about everything. It was an incredible period of the world that, I mean, you don't get very many not trivial, but like very moments in which everything could have shifted in any direction, and it would have changed the outcome of everything. And that was one that was very global. You know, obviously World War, but just it's just incredible to hear the stories and the people and the humanity that kind of comes out in the worst of situations. So they have a lot to work on, and they have to work off of a lot of places to explore, and just a great cultural emotion to tap into. Personally, I'd love to see the franchise fall. Love to see that. I feel like they've just kind of rubbed it in the dirt for a long time, or make it good, one or the other. Let it die, or make it something quality, but don't just keep scamming 17-year-olds for money.
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree, and I think it's going to get good again.
I hope so.
At some point,
I would love it.
I think this game might be a starting point for it, because, as I was saying, Disney made a ton of really crappy movies, and they started to actually, the entire company was heading down a black hole of financial troubles when they turned around. They figured out that they had been trying to scam people out with sequels of, and it was like, oh yeah, come and buy the Lion King 6.
Oh, I love Lion King
Simba's
6.
new shoes.
Isn't that the one, Lion King 6 Space? I think I remember that one. Yeah,
No, yeah, it's Lion King 6 Space. yeah, Space Warfare. That's the one when the hygienists are trying to conquer Mars.
Yeah, I love that one. I love
Yeah,
that one. Jafar plays
that's the one.
asteroid. Love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The talking asteroid.
It's funny.
Yeah, no, but that they were close to that kind of crap actually. So, but they turned around and now they are building up their own universe, and there is like lots of talks about how the different movies are actually interconnected and all of this stuff. And Disney have expanded. They have taken over DreamWorks. They have taken over Star Wars. They've taken over everything. And it's almost scary how much they are growing, but at least they are actually producing quality stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's
the problem is I think Disney have reached a point where they might be starting to turn downhill again, but Activision are definitely down in the absolute dumps. So I think that if they have enough money still left, they can still turn this around and start to actually produce good things again.
I think, yeah.
I'm going to hope that that's the case, because there is a lot of people loving these games, and it would be sad to see them just get left behind without a community to work with again.
I think the best thing that they may recognize is a loss of sales, and if that's the case, maybe they will fire the people who have been making these decisions, or not fire them, but even just move them out of that environment.
Fire them. They suck.
They do suck.
Don't know what they do.
I admit it. I'd be fine with that. But just, moving these people out of that influence and putting in the people who care enough to do it. I'd be curious to see that.
Yeah, people with a vision that wants to reboot things and make things better. And I think that can happen.
Be up to them.
But hey, do you feel like we could turn into talk about the real world for a bit?
Sure, absolutely.
So, at the time of recording this podcast, the world is still trying to look shocked over the Metoo campaigns. They have been talking about a lot of in a lot of media. A lot of people have been accused of being jerks to women and men.
Boy, those jerks who ask for unconsensual sex. It's like, yeah, it's a little more than a jerk, a little more. A couple of them.
Okay, sure. Let's face it. We're talking about sexual predators, and that there have been cases of rape, there have been cases of assault, and sexual assault. And coming from a nation that takes this really seriously, we often get accused for having so much rape, but really our laws are at the same time really hard on the topic. Like, we really care about trying to solve this issue. So I think a lot of countries around the globe would have a lot worse situations if they had the same laws that we are upholding. That's my opinion.
I think it's something that isn't.
If you legalize crime, you will have zero criminals.
Yeah. But then they're still there. It's just they're not called criminals anymore.
Exactly.
It's just I kind of think it's interesting because I think this is stuff that people have known for a very long time, and just I mean,
I was actually about to ask you exactly this, and this is why I like talking to you. We seem to be in sync in several things. What I was about to say is that, are you shocked over the fact that a lot of Hollywood producers and other people are actually forcing women to have sex with them?
No. I think a couple of the names are surprising, just because a couple of them, I don't know, the idea that is happening is, you'd be naive if you didn't think that. Just to be very honest, you'd be naive to think that Hollywood doesn't have sexual scandal. But the fact that there's a couple of very big names that have come out now, it's a little, you're like, oh, I did not know any of this. But then you kind of look into it and you go, oh, people have been kind of warning about this. But I think we kind of also, I don't think this is a new thing. I don't think this is culturally, something we've developed. But there is this idea that if you're likable, you're exempt from things. And I'm seeing that in this whole thing too. It's like Harvey Weinstein is the perfect person to start this off, because he is not a socially beautiful person. He's not a, you know what I mean?
He is an asshole.
He's an asshole, and he looks the part, and he fits the stereotype, and everybody can get on board with it. There's not the only people who can't get on board with it are the people whose jobs are threatened by it. So he was the perfect Jabba the Hutt villain. But now you get people like Kevin Spacey, who were huge years ago. Huge. House of Cards came out. Everyone loved this guy. It was awesome. Could you imagine allegations coming out about him?
He was in he was in Call of Duty.
Could you imagine
tying it back?
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, that's just like, you know what I mean? Huge actor.
Yeah, no, he's huge.
It's and, like,
I mean, it stinks a bit. I like Kevin Spacey. Like, I liked his kind of acting, and then it turns out that he is really questionable. Like, a lot of things he've done. And, like, yeah, the internet will love to make fun of things. That's what we do. That's what the internet is basically for. Yeah. We like to make fun out of things. And his response being like, no, I'm gay.
I'm so glad everyone called that out. Yeah. I had this real strong inclination. I was like, it's gonna just go by. Like, it's gonna be just enough of what he has to say to get people. I'm so glad it was just this, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that was the worst response in years. I normally have a tendency to forget, like, things like this. I know there have been several responses that I know I have reacted being like, that was a really bad response. But this is one of the absolute worst. It's like, you are accused of sexually assaulting and potentially raping.
It was a 14-year-old boy, I think, at the time.
14-year-old. And it's like, yeah, but I'm gay, though.
No, I just love how he's been saving it. He's like, one day I'll need you, but not today. And it's because
this is my escape card.
Yeah.
Get out of jail free card. I'm gay. You can't do anything against me. My gay friends now know that they can rob a bank because it's fine.
Hollywood, I mean,
you're free from things.
That has grown in investment over the years to be able to, you know what I mean? Oh, it's this big, you know, it's very funny to see how that went. That cracks me up.
Yeah. But there is another side to this entire thing, because I'm positive to this entire Me Too thing. Basically, as we were talking about things in the beginning, where we talked about your TF2 Friday and stuff like that, we talked about the darker side of lives, to remind people that they're not alone. Everybody have negative sides of life to deal with. It's really good that this entire Me Too campaign came out to really say, yeah, a lot of people have experiences that are negative, that are involved. Like,
I think it's
sexually assault. I think that is seen to be more common for women, since men are still not really. It's not really okay to say that you have been sexually assaulted by a woman. It's like, the cultural thing there is, no, you should be happy that she wants to have sex with you, right? Yeah, but if I don't want to have sex with her, that is still a problem.
I did think it was funny that, like, Mariah Carey's name came out, and a couple other people. I'm like, good. It's nice to see that it is sexual. See, because, like, I will not.
Yeah. And there is a thing going on right now where there's apparently a very famous radio person in Sweden are under the investigation of this, and probably have got fired, but they're still covering for her a lot. So I'm not sure, and I don't really know her name, but it's a woman, and probably it's not going to be a shock for any Swede when the name comes out that it's that person they're talking about. But this far, they're really covering for her, and that sort of rubs me the wrong way in one way. But there is another side to this that I am a bit worried about this entire Me Too campaign.
I'm glad you said this.
Not because we're talking about this.
I'm glad you said this, because I was about to voice an unpopular opinion. I think...
Yeah.
So the Me Too campaign started before any of the allegations began. I think you had the opportunity for the most just revolutionary platform for this. Like, that's legitimately to have a sexual abuse hashtag blow up to that extent is daunting, because, like, sexual abuse is legitimately this just awful problem of I mean, just to begin to kind of fathom the situation makes you hard to think of it, which is I think why it almost gets pushed under the rug, because it's something that's very dark and something that's very painful. And so I think a lot of people kind of hear away to it because it's a little too, whatever.
And if I just tie it back to a little bit what you said in the beginning of this podcast about people have a tendency of trying to push the darker sides to, hide it under the rug and not have to confront it. And that you opened up talking about this on YouTube was a way for you to like vent that this exists, and a lot of people reacted to this, being like very positive to it. And I think part of this, so to say, the dark, the not really want to accept the existence of this is part of that. This is so dark and so hard to deal with. How do you help a friend that have got sexually assaulted? Well, you are going to get everything going to be fine. Let's go do something else. Let's not think about it. That sort of approach, I think, is what sort of have kept covering up stuff like this. And it's all about domination, like people with domination problematic behavior. Like if a lot of it is men. Like there are a lot of women that too, but a lot of it is men that are dominating other men by attacking them with violence and attacking women by attacking them sexually.
I'm under the impression that you should, like, with any issue as far as a race or gender or anything goes, if you're like, I think I am happy to accept that this is many men. Because that is the truth of it.
Yes.
I am under the impression.
Let's speak truthful about this thing, but
yes.
Like,
to me, it's like, if you're going to be honest with one side of it, you have to be honest with the other side. If we are going to be honest about, men's role in this industry or women's whatever, we have to be honest on the other side. And I think that is what opens the door for a lot of open discussion. It's like, look, let's take it by the facts and not by what we want to hear. If it is legitimately 50 guys in Mariah Carey, I will accept that it is 50 guys in Mariah Carey. If it's, you know what I mean? It's just, it just bugs me when we have to make token people and issues. It's like, let's just whoever it is who we have legitimate evidence on, like, let's not deny it.
Exactly.
I look at, Bill Cosby allegations, stuff like that. It's like, if it's legitimate evidence.
Yeah, Bill Cosby is such a great thing because it was before Metoo blew up. And there were so many people that was continuously like, I don't want to hear this, I'm not going to accept it.
No, and it's like,
and that's such a big problem.
If there is over a bus of women that have to come forward to that you did something to them, and there is legitimate evidence of it in a court setting, it comes back to that likable thing. I don't want Bill Cosby to be a rapist. I don't want Kevin Spacey to be a rapist. What world of entertainment would that be the best case scenario? But if there's legitimate evidence of it, enough to where there's an investigation and that there are people doing this, innocent until proven guilty, absolutely. But if it's enough of a pull to where people who shouldn't really have to get involved, something's up. And not only do you know something's up, but like, you don't get to exclude the fact because of one of those demeanors. You don't get to say, hey, just because I really like him in this show, House of Cards, what am I going to do about my season 6 of House of Cards if Kevin Spacey gets sent to jail? It's like, well, it's a little different. So I feel like...
What are the women that, and men in his case, that have been assaulted do with their life because you want to watch House of Cards? And the 2 first seasons are the best anyway, so...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, right. Like, it's not even worth it. Like, Kevin Spacey's downhill. Like,
don't worry here.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
No, but let's voice I'm going to voice another unpopular opinion. I have an issue with where the Me Too campaign have started to be heading, because it have turned from being this really great thing of pointing out you are not alone. A lot of people have experienced bad things, and you should really know that there are people out there that have the same experiences and are willing to back you up so you can, get back on the people that have done you wrong. But now it have turned into a media circus.
No, me too. Me too. Me too. I was in this too. It's like,
Yeah.
no, see, this is what I was getting to. You had this incredible platform and like voices and stories, and even ones you don't have to share. You don't have to share a story, but like, you know what I mean? All these just stories of sexual abuse, and you're like, wow, that is already millions of people. And they're like, and sexual harassment. And immediately it just all flew out because you have people who are legitimate in that. It's like, I've been, you know, exactly this Hollywood thing. I've been harassed, and my job has been independent of this, and I have been put in situations where I have not, you know, been on board with what is going on. I have not consented. And it has been, you know, this whole situation of where I'm stuck. I can't socially leave this gracefully. Like, that is important. That is what this whole campaign is about. And then you get this whole Me Too group that it's like, I'm in it. I'm part of this. I felt it too. And it's like, I've known some people who they were talking about the whole campaign. We were all discussing this, and they're like, yeah, I had like a cousin or I had a family member who started tweeting about it. And like the whole family got concerned because they're like, oh my gosh, we had no idea. You know what I mean? What happened? You know what I mean? Like, we didn't know you were sexually assaulted. We didn't know that something had occurred. You know, please let us know. We're worried about you. And there's pretty much no answer. It was like, oh no, like I've been catcalled before. And it's like, okay, that's not okay, but that's not what this campaign is necessarily about. Like, it is at its core, but it's not like...
Yeah. At its core, it is
about that.
It's very
in a
simple.
Perfect on-paper
It doesn't matter.
World, it is. But Facebook is not on paper.
It's super simple, right?
Yes.
It's super simple. Just treat people independently of what's underneath their clothes, independently, you know, who they are and what life they're living. Treat people with respect and treat them in a way that would feel good for you to be treated. If everybody lived by that, we would have a much better planet. People don't, and that's an issue, and it's definitely part of what makes Me Too an important issue. What's really is a problem is when it starts to become, you know, it loses the topic that it's about. It's no longer about you're not alone. I have been through this as well, that thing. And now it's more becoming a way of being loud in a media setting again, and being shown on social media. And it rubs me the wrong way when I see comments that are, you know, when you're trying to be part of something that is not something you want to be part of. You don't want to be part of Me Too. You don't want that in your life.
There should be nobody who wants, and if it has happened, that makes it the reason. You know what I mean? Stuff like there shouldn't be anybody who is having to pick their brain about a Me Too experience. There should never be somebody who has to think, wait a minute, have I had this before? Like that.
Have I been through something that I need to express now because it's popular?
Yes.
That is a problem. And the second thing that I also want to bring up, and the thing that I called out the third day of Me Too being rampant through the media, and that is we are now judging people on accusations alone in the media, in the entire world. We are judging people in a way that we should do in a courtroom.
Exactly. It is again a social. It's terrifying because I'd like to believe.
Yes, it's terrifying. That's the word I really was looking for, because humanity is really, really bad at doing things in a group.
Mob mentality doesn't exactly look at all the facts all the time, and it's, let's say, legitimately, I'd like to believe that all these names that are coming out are because there's enough evidence to where their names are rising to the surface, because there actually is enough. You know what I mean? Companies are having to adjust their policies, stuff like that. Like Kevin Spacey's. If Netflix drops you, Netflix knew something. Something was up. There were enough people who were able to be like, yeah, we legitimately need to get ahead of this to get on that. Yeah. But if it is a situation where it's like, we're just throwing names out of people to you know what I mean? It's just, that's terrifying.
Yes,
exactly. That accusation alone, you don't need to be guilty of it just having your name tied to that is incredibly devastating to your life, even if there was no evidence, if there was no facts, and if it was all made up. And I'm not saying these are. I like to believe these are legitimate,
and
but it's a scary accusation. It's a scary action.
It's a really scary accusation. It's a loaded gun. Like, it's if you are in a public setting and have at least a reasonable amount of fame around you, and somebody accuses you of rape or sexual assault, that is going to damage your life extraordinarily much. And if you are innocent, you do not deserve that. And I'm scared about the group mentality that is blowing up around a massive hashtag like this. I can't talk anymore.
That's all right.
No, it's as important as this is. Important things you also always have to be careful with. And I start to feel like in the social media setting of 2017 and in the world of 2017, we are not careful with words, and words are as dangerous as loaded weapons.
Exactly. I feel like we are having greater discussions on Twitter and on than we are in actual, it's just, I don't know. It just, to me, it's insane. Like, I think it takes away from the humanity. I've noticed that when I feel most connected to humanity is almost when I'm unplugged from a lot of it for some time. Because you go on there and it's just anger on every side. It's like, you are all wrong. Everybody is wrong but me. Yeah. And then you get like to society and nobody's like that. Nobody is on a street corner yelling, you need to be doing this, not this. No. That's just irrational in a public setting. But because we've kind of allowed it on like a social standpoint, it's insane. Like, you would never do that. You wouldn't have an NRA guy on one corner and a not, and I hate to use that example because I think there's legitimacy in every kind of an aspect, but it's just, you wouldn't.
Yeah, but the total pacifist in the other corner, and those two are the only opinions you're allowed to have.
Screaming at each other, and it's just like, why are we a part of this?
That is not constructive.
Why are we a part of this? It's just, I don't get it, and it bugs me too because then I'd like to let you, if you were to grow up with Twitter and Facebook and this, and that was like all you had, and like you don't. I mean, obviously everybody interacts with the world. It's all media based. Yeah, it's like you grow up viewing the world very different. I feel the same way,
and I think. Yeah, I think one thing that's really terrifies me is that I'm starting to feel like there is an age divide here.
Absolutely.
With the generation that have grown up with the internet and the one that basically found the internet and, started exploring it. And that we started exploring the internet as young kids. We didn't know what we were doing. And the internet sure as hell didn't know what they were doing. And there is so much that is great with how the world has been built up now, but I feel like the generation that is coming after you and me and our generation, we are not old. I mean, come on.
No, exactly.
Not yet, anyway.
It's
But I'm starting to feel like it sometimes when I'm looking at those who'd never experienced the time before the entire world was in your pocket at all times. And as you were saying, the best connection with humanity sometimes comes from just unplugging from everything, go out in the forest or wherever, and just clear your head and think. And if we're going to, proceed as a species and become greater than we are, and solve the Metoo issue and stop having sexual assault and rape being an issue, I just think the social media climate of today and the media climate of today is sort of destroying the potential of doing great things as Metoo have. But as you were saying, there is a big fear that they are about to lose that because it's going to turn into just another rage screaming match.
I'd like to compare it almost. I mean, there are things that you write on paper that sound perfect, and they are just, and maybe your heart is in them. But the minute if they are not applied to the society the same way, you have to acknowledge it. I mean, not to get too political, not a comparison of the two, but a comparison of the way it goes. But like, let's look. It's like communism will sound perfect on paper. And that would be the ideal utopia society where we all just do it. But if we have to accept that we as humans almost make it a front for a dictatorship, we can't ignore that, because on paper it was just. We have to look at what it is. We have to look at what it's become, and we can say this isn't applicable to this sort of a human society. If we are going to look and we're going to say, hey, your cause for Metoo is just and right, and I think anybody human, would understand that that is a legitimate concern.
Understand and support.
Exactly.
And really want it to be solved.
But I will not support... I still support the movement. I think it has done its job, obviously, given the whole thing going on right now. But it's like, you don't get to just be without...
I'm not going to support replacing the justice system with social media judgment.
I believe it.
And that is the scary part. Like, we need to bring a lot of these cases into court and just wait for the justice system to make a ruling before we start pointing out who is who and who has done what, because we don't know. If you have got a court case against you and you have been sentenced because you have done something, then it's totally fine to say this guy is a rapist.
Absolutely. And I think, again, it's all supported. It's just that is a dangerous weapon to wield, and you'd like to believe everybody does, but everybody misuses weapons on both sides of the fence, and it's just scary to think
and everybody knows the fact that there are men and women out there that could use an allegations to crush you because they are just mean at heart.
Yes, and that is exactly.
They have something against you, so why not bring you down? You have a bad relationship where the man might have left the woman, and you can get an assault charge thrown at you. That is not what we want.
No.
And that's not what Metoo campaign is about either. I'm not saying it is. And I'm just saying we are currently doing a lot of things in a loud environment, and we're doing it really rushed.
Yes, everything
in a way that probably need to take time and be done really smart.
Somebody's career's ended in a week, and if it's deserved, that is awesome. But think about how terrifying that is. Kevin Spacey's entire career was ruined in a week, and
a lifetime.
Yes.
Lifetime's work is gone in a week. And probably, maybe he deserves it.
Oh, I'm not going
to take.
I'd like to believe that with enough of a backing, this is a legitimate thing, in which case he deserves it to be gone, because he shouldn't have had it to begin with if that was the case. But and I'm using Kevin Spacey not as a character example, but as a success example.
No. Can I
Yeah.
switch example here?
Could you imagine?
Very
Yeah,
brutally attack this because, again, I have the only reason why I'm saying if saying it the way I am, if Kevin Spacey probably he sort of admitted to doing stuff, but not really. But he blamed it away. But we can take this to the ultimate example, and that's going on in the UK right now. There was a Labour minister in Wales that got accusations against him, and he took his life.
Ooh, wow.
And it's not clear if he have done anything yet.
Well, I mean, at that point, that's what we said. It's terrifying that your name is now tied to that, and you're not. You know what I mean? Your entire life can get destroyed from a false accusation on any side of the fence. Any human's life can be destroyed by a false accusation.
Maybe he have done something, and that's why he took his life.
It could very well be. He could be guilty as all the colors in the world.
He could be guilty as heck, but
the evidence,
we don't know.
It's terrifying. If it's all,
that's the point. We have no idea.
If it's in the light, it's obvious, no brainer. But if it's in the dark like that, that's a scary call to make. And I think any call you do make that you come to immediately is one that really didn't have a lot of thought in this subject in it. It's just...
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's the best way to end this really hot topic discussion. If you disagree with us, feel free to leave a comment below. This is an open channel where you can just do that. And I'm just going to, clean out the things that... too loud and too irrational to even respond to. I'm going to clean that out because this is my channel. I do what I want. But otherwise, if people do not really care for what I'm saying, totally fine to have argument against me. I love discussions and debates, and we need more of that. So that said, feel free to voice your concerns and your opinions, but do it in a way that is possible to respond to and is completely fair by actually not just being loud and say, you are an idiot because I don't agree with you.
No, exactly.
That is not an opinion I'm going to even respond to because I've given up on those humans.
My mind
now.
can be changed
If you,
anytime.
Yeah.
I'll have conversations with people where they mention one thing that immediately makes you understand the other side of it. It's just like, oh,
yeah. The greatness of democracy is a lot of people have the ability of thinking about an issue and giving you their opinions so that you get as broad solutions as possible. That's the greatness of democracy, and that's something we should protect.
I agree.
Well, I have one final topic, but I'm feeling that I don't want to hold you forever if you have things to do. So I'm just going to do it a bit quickly.
Do it.
Because I find I have a bit of a not conclusion to draw on, but I have an opinion that I've started to form around Nintendo Switch.
Nintendo Switch. All right, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Switch,
and the new Nintendo Switch, it's already a success because it's already had like several really good games. The new Mario game looks amazingly
I've heard
fun.
awesome things about Odyssey. Yeah.
Yeah, and the new Zelda game apparently is just out. You know, it's great. So this is the first time I've considered a console in forever. But there is something coming up to this, and that is different classic games are popping up on the Switch right now as mushrooms in a Mario game.
Yeah.
And one of those is the game that never seems to want to go to rest and leave the stage for a new one, and that is Skyrim.
Oh, you mean they're not coming out with the new VR? Yeah, no, don't. This is you might not want to start this on the VR. Oh, Bethesda, get your stuff in order. Just come on.
Yeah, don't become the next AI or Activision. Start to actually approach your amazing games.
I was so annoyed before Fallout 4 came out, and they made some comment of like, well, it's not even in development. And I was like, are you kidding me? You're like #1 best-selling game of all time that has been out for 6 years now, isn't even in development for a sequel. I just was so like, all right. I guess, there's a Valve point, right? There's EA and there's Activision, where it's like every single year we'll give you the garbage you want and it'll be watered down. And then there's the flip side, which is currently Bethesda and Valve, where it's like, I know you want this and I am purposely not making it. And it's like, you both are evil in your own ways. Like, you both, it's just, It's insane. I don't even understand how you could make a statement like that. Hey, I know that the game that you all made us popular for, you've all begged for a sequel, and I know and you know it's not going to be as good as we all want it to be, but I'm just never going to make it, and then we're going to release the script to it, and you're all going to just have to deal. And it wasn't even them that released the script. It was like the lead writer was so fed up, he just finally, and I was like, how blunt do you have to be to just ignore that? It just bugs me. The whole Elder Scrolls thing. You have the platform for this amazing world you can develop, and I understand like hitting lightning twice, but you did Oblivion, you did Skyrim, you learned from your mistakes, you made it this. You should be able to dial it into this awesome point, and they've just Who cares? Like, I'm sorry, Fallout 4. It's already $20 on Steam. It's like $20 on a sale on Steam.
Now, my feelings about the Fallout games are, I'm not 100% sure I trust Bethesda at the moment, so I'm sort of happy that they haven't just spit out Elder Scrolls. Because Fallout didn't hit the mark. Like, that let's be honest, I actually like the game per se, just roaming around, but the story wasn't amazing, and the the world feels sort of staged. It feels like you're going from one event to another in a way that it doesn't feel really genuine. It's like Skyrim still feels like the place is alive.
Yes.
You are just dropping by a village, then everybody's doing their thing and moving around, and some is out on the field and they're talking to each other, and you're out in the wilderness and you find a giant herding his mammoths and stuff like that. Skyrim feels like it's a world that's alive around you, and they have done amazingly with that. Fallout didn't feel like that. It feels like it's a staged battle zone 1, staged battle zone 2, and there's a bridge. There is staged battle zone 3 on the other on top of this bridge, because every bridge is mined and filled with some kind of scripted event.
It's just it has a quality game to hold up for all those years. That doesn't mean you have to wait all those years. Doesn't mean, you know what I mean? It's just so fun.
Well, I think it's good that they've been waiting and that they are waiting for the right time, but it starts to get ridiculous when we have Skyrim on PC, we have Skyrim on console, we have Skyrim on the new console, we have Skyrim on VR, we have Skyrim...
Yeah, I mean, and again, I would not want them to rush it.
Skyrim all over ourselves. I have played Skyrim. I love Skyrim, but
please. Yes, and I understand it's Bethesda. I understand that, the gap between Oblivion and Skyrim was fairly long, and I understand that, I get that. But even before, if you want to go Morrowind, that was even longer. But it's like, it just, if you're not even beginning to lay the groundwork, you're not putting in the time everybody's... You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if you spend 8 years to make a game amazing. Oh my gosh, hands down, whatever, I'll wait for it. But when you're waiting 6 years and then you go, oh, we haven't even considered it, that concerns me. Because then it sounds like you're almost throwing the game together at the last minute and you're just banking on this. That's my main concern.
Exactly. Fallout 4 was a work in progress for a long time.
And it was...
At least behind the scenes and stuff like that. And the thing is, I didn't feel it hit the mark. It felt like the storyline had been stripped from a lot of more important parts and didn't add much to the world around it. It didn't add any massive amount of lore. You can see these on lore YouTubers. A lot of them have done very few videos on Fallout 4 compared to New Vegas or Fallout 3. There's a lot more to pick up from those.
I think
that is the problem. You have to keep working on the story. Games are not just something that kids mess around with. It's a story. It's an art form, and keep it alive. Keep working on it.
No, exactly. I just... Again, it's I don't have any issue with there being time that you're building something up, and I have no issue with, putting quality into something. And I think that's, if they're telling me there isn't even a writing team that's begun to start to plot this all out, that concerns me. Because the gap from, I just looked it up because I was curious, because I knew, Skyrim was 2011. I knew Oblivion was mid-2000s, but apparently 2006. It's a 5-year gap between two incredible games that both did very well. And here we are on year 6, and you guys don't... If you're telling me that we don't even have a writing team in place, if we don't have any sort of structure to the idea of what this place is going to be, it really... The concern is not that you haven't made the game. The concern is that you seem not to care about what the next game's quality is going to be. And if Fallout 4 really did not live up to Fallout 3's hype, Fallout 3 was, it had longevity. People still play it. New Vegas has actually started to come out as this better game because it's had more quality. And 4 has just kind of gone by the wayside. It looked awesome. It hit all the conferences. People were excited, and it's just... I don't hear people talking about it the same. And
the thing I feel about it is that maybe Bethesda needs to work with Obsidian again. That made
Vegas. New Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas, yeah. Because Obsidian is really good what they're doing. I'm playing one of their own games, Tyranny, and it's an amazing game. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. It's a single player game, sadly, so I can't really share the experience together with somebody. But if you want to buy a good game, Tyrant is one. And you know, they care a lot about their own like story. They care a lot about the lore. And I just start to feel, as much as my love for Skyrim is there and as much as it's complete, it's time for Skyrim to die.
Yep, I'm ready. I think Skyrim will never quite die, just like how Oblivion doesn't quite die. But it's time to say, hey, let's move on to the next thing. And if it's a thing of fear where you're afraid, which I don't think they are, because they're releasing it on every console imaginable. But I mean, they've even come remastered. It's on the Switch. It's on this. It's on your toilet now. Did you know you could play Skyrim on the toilet? I didn't. Apparently now I can, because it's out for literally everything before you even begin to work on your sequel. So
exactly. So Switch, probably a really good console. Would like to get it, but I'm not that excited for Skyrim on a plane that some people might be. And what I'm really excited about, it's Elder Scrolls 6 on a plane. That's what
on the plane. Yes. No, I am so ready for Elder Scrolls 6. I think it will be awesome, just based off of any sort of. They already have the foundation for a working game. They could just make it what I don't know. I think it's ready. About time. Hopefully, it comes out soon.
Yeah, I agree. So, I'm going to put end to this podcast, and I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope we will have a chance to talk some more in the future in another episode. I hope you're down for that. Of
course, anytime. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and if people have enjoyed it, please leave a like and comments on stuff you agreed or not agreed on. It's all good. And as I was saying, Skyrim never dies.
Skyrim never dies.